Oh hi. Bruges, the city in Belgium, the center of the province de Western Flanders. The population -118,536 persons. 2020. Economic and cultural blossoming of Bruges is connected with an era of the High and Late Middle Ages. The 12th-15th centuries. The city lies in 17 km from the seacoast, in the fruitful plain, on the line of the state railroad Ghent-Ostende. In the city 3 channels, Gent, Slaatsky and Ostensky connect. These channels are so deep that on them big sea vessels can go. Sometimes Bruges is called Northern Venice. In the ancient time here at the bridge people gathered for fairs. The name of the area, Bridge, became nominal and passed to the formed city. Rug by tradition built to is mute. Rug Bridge. In the modern city 54 bridges, from them 12 vessels, wooden and adjustable for the admission. The history Bruges, it is the most best and other Belgian cities kept a medieval print, it is possible to track till the 3rd century Win Street. Rizal preached the gospel to its inhabitants. In the 7th century of Bruges became the main town of the district which was called Flanders. Sea trade early gained big development here. Contacts with England, after gained by her Normans, were so frequent that merchants from Bruges founded the London Hanse which had the big rights and so strong that the columns Flanders in 1242 I promised to appoint chef in am only of Dix of Hanse. In March 1127 in Bruges the Count of Flanders Charles I Dobry then there was a revolt against deputies of Wilhelm Lipski who replaced him, and next year, the minding new Count Wilhelm Clinton supported by the French king was perfidiously killed. These events were in detail described by the local chronicler Galbert, the first famous Flemish writer. In 1302 at the head of the Flanders cities which rose yoke over the Chatilian minding the French deputy got up Peter Koning, the foreman of the shop of weavers in Bruges, and the foreman of the shop of butchers iron bridle that led to the well-known fight at Kurter. In 1887 in the city the monument is delivered to them. The richness of the city in the Middle Ages was huge, what the buildings which remain still and monuments of art testify to. In the 14th century of Bruges was the center of trade in Northern Europe. The decline of Bruges caused by a number of the general and local reasons. Contamination of the channel connecting the city to the sea, excessive commitment to medieval trade custom and other. Begins with the end of the 14th century. It is considered that exactly here in 1406 the first exchange was founded. However, over time 2 city harbors began to shallow because of alluvial sand and garbage. The authorities were occupied with internal contentions that led to loss of former greatness and wealth. During this period Antwerp, the constant rival of Bruges, begins to tower. Distempers of the end of the 15th century seriously affected trade, and only exclusive trade in wool which was of great importance for British after loss of Calais. 1560. Continued to give quite good profit. Bruges, the bishop's residence since 1559. Arenum. The Court of First Instance, Provincial Administration of the Western Flanders, the Gymnasium, Academy of Arts with Art Gallery. It is constructed in 1719, it is again remade in 1755. The museum, the botanical garden, public library, theatre and a lot of charitable institutions. The welfare of the city was undermined by also big resettlements during religious distempers in severe reign of Philip II. In 1704 Bruges was besieged by Dutches. In 1708, 1745 and 1794 was taken by the French. While Belgium belonged to France, Bruges was the main town of Department of Lye. In 1814 Bruges departed to the Netherlands, in 1830 to Belgium. Modern Bruges, the important economic and cultural centre. The main objects of the industry: linen, woolen and cotton fabrics, lace. Besides, there are brewing, also distilleries, low-tonnage shipbuilding and ship repair. Bruges, one of the oldest in Europe, the center of cutting of diamonds. There is a museum of diamonds. One of the main revenues of modern Bruges, tourism. At the end of the 20th century, the modern seaport Bruges outside the city constructed, thanks to what Bruges returned itself a role of the trade sea city. The largest concert venue Bruges, the Concertgebouw Hall, where the Symphonic Orchestra of Flanders gives constant concerts. Through Bruges, which is called sometimes Northern Venice, there passes the set of waterways. Water Belfort. One of the main symbols of modern Bruges. Sites: Church of the Mother of God, 1210-1549. In her there is a marble sculpture of the Mother of God with the baby Michelangelo, 1503-1504. Only taken out from Italy during lifetime of the author. Bronze tombs of Karl Smelly and his daughter Maria Burgundskaya are here too located. The Cathedral of Christ Redeemer, St. Salvator's Cathedral, is constructed in 1116-1118. Chapels in style of the Burning Gothic style in 1480-1527. With pictures 1. Van Oost, Van Hoek, Quellen, Memmeling, etc. Basilica of Sacred Blood, Heilig Basiliek, the two-storied building. The Lower Romans Chapel is built in 1139-1149, top Gothic, about 1480, a facade of 1529-1534. H. Sixerness. It is restored in 1829-1839. According to the legend, Dietrich Olszewski in 1150 brought several drops of blood of Christ Redeemer to this church, 700-year anniversary of what was solemnly celebrated by church in 1850. The Jerusalem Church. It is consecrated in 1428. Is constructed according to the plan of the Temple of the Lord's Coffin. Street. Jacob's Church, St. Jacobskirk. Construction is begun about 1180, ended in 1518. Street. Valparaiso's Church, St. Walburgakirk, 1619-1641. B. Hyacinths. Baroque Jesuit. Water Belfort. Belfort is constructed in 1240, is expanded as a result of reconstruction in 1483, 1487, in the 16th century the Big Carillon was added. 83 m high, one of symbols of modern Bruges. It is located on the central Market Square City Town Hall, or Provincial Hofen on the Market Square. It is constructed in 1294, taken down in 1787. The new building in neoclassical style burned down in 1878. The modern building in neo-Gothic style is erected in 1891-1920. 33 statues of Flemish counts and countesses which were burned by the French in 1792. Ancient mills of St. Janshus. St. Janshus Molen and Koluwe. Koluwe Building Freedom to Bruges. Rugs Bruges. Ancient residence of a Burggraf of Bruges. It was repeatedly reconstructed, in 1722, 1727 last time. The channels used in the tourist purposes, for holding boat excursions with the review of numerous bridges. The monument to January Bridal, the hero of fight of Cold Spurs, is on the central square. Among other monuments, to the great artist Mr. Memmeling, whose big life is connected with Bruges. And the native of Bruges to the outstanding mathematician Simona Stavina. In the historic center of the city there is a quadrangular market on the big square. The 14th century. In the same place courthouse. Former residence of Counts of Flanders. In this building there is a fireplace. 1529-1531. Decorated with a carving on a tree with a Massachusetts of the coats of arms, portraits and statues, including Charles V, Maximilian and Maria Burgundskek, Ferdinand Aragonsky and Isabella Kastilskaya. To the north from the downtown, the Lacy Center, where it is possible to get masterpieces of local lace makers, is located. In 2000 the historic center of Bruges was announced by UNESCO the World Heritage Site. Museums. Salvador Dali's Museum. Art Museum Groningen. Groningen Museum, 1930. Museum Bruges. Brugge Museum Bruges, 1425-70. The modern name since 1955. Street. Irons Hospital. It is founded in 1188. Is known also as Memling's Museum. Except his separate pictures, diptychs, triptychs, etc. It is stored here. Cancer of Street. Ursula, on whom Memling represented torture of maidens, the Cologne martyrs. The Museum. The native of Bruges. Frank Brengvin is known also as Arendt's House. Arendthuis. House Museum of the Flemish poet Guido Giselle. Brugge Museum Giselle. Archaeological Museum. Brugge Museum Archaeology. Chocolate Museum. Museum of Hospital of the Mother of God of Potter's Craft. Ons Lievrouw Terrace Pottery. Folklore Museum. Museum of Folk Art and Traditions. Brugge Museum Volkskunst. Begenath Tang of Venger. Salvador Dali's Museum. Museum of Beer. Bruges in art. In Bruges there is a number of episodes of the novel of Charles D. Coster, A Legend of Eulenspiegel. Novels by the Belgian writers Rodenbach, Dead Bruges, are devoted to the city. Bruges La Mort, 1892. And Bell Ringer. Le Caroliner, 1897, in other translation, is higher than life. The novel Appointment in Bruges, 1958. The second book of the trilogy. The first book of the trilogy, Major Vatron, 1956. And the third book, When the Sea Recedes, 1963. The author of the trilogy, Armand Toulagne, the famous French writer, 1913-1983. A subject of the novel Appointment in Bruges, the different fate of the people who underwent World War II. Search. In Bruges there is an action of the movie, Cohen Hiding in Bruges. Bruges, one of the cities in which action of the book of Federico Andreotti, A Flemish Secret, is developed. Eric Emanuel Schmidt writes in the book, The Woman in a Mirror, about the maiden from Bruges who became Bajinki in 10 Vanguardies by Janasha. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.